your hometown morning show, Indiana in the Morning, on the voice of Indiana County, 101.1 FM and AM 1160 WCCS.
Indiana in the Morning on WCCS, 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com.
This morning's Indiana in the Morning segment with the Conservative Energy Network is brought to you by Sunnyfield Renewable Energy. Energy matters. Let's talk.
Indeed, let's talk. And we've got a lot to talk about this morning with Jim Gregory, Justin Mason. They are on the line. Justin is on the line. Jim is in the studio. Our visit presented by Marcus & Mack, voted best law firm, best personal injury lawyer 4 years in a row, best of Indiana County contest. You can visit them online, marcusandmack.com. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Todd.
Good morning, Todd.
It's good to have you both with us here today. So if you're traveling the Turnpike or you're in certain areas such as the state capitol, you're going to notice something new and shiny to get your attention. It is a billboard that is going to be up over the next several months. Jim, I'm going to read what it says on it, and then we're going to ask you for an explanation of what I read here. There's a graph there. It says PA energy cost, the cost of partisanship. And it's your basic classic graph, and it goes upward. And if it's the cost of partisanship, what it seems to be saying is the cost is going up. And it says energy siting reform in Pennsylvania now. All right. So, Jim Gregory, what am I supposed to take from that?
It also says paid for by SenPA.
Mm-hmm.
And they are strategically placed on our turnpike east and westbound into Harrisburg, with one also strategically located in the capital. As a advocate for all forms of energy in Pennsylvania, we're a C3. It's very important to recognize that we are educators, and we are trying to implore our policymakers, our legislators on both sides of the aisle, that what is being felt by ratepayers and taxpayers at home in their mailbox when it comes to their energy bills is going to be felt at the ballot box by one or the other party if they don't recognize as soon as possible that partisanship and how you have felt previously about whatever form of energy you have supported and have been against in the past. The messaging that we're hearing from both sides of the aisle now has changed a bit to recognize the work that we're doing and others are doing to make sure the impact is being heard, that legislators are now using the phrase, we support all of the above, which means all forms of energy. It didn't previously used to be that way for whatever side of the aisle you were on. And so recognizing that the importance of energy and the impact it has on the cost of living in Pennsylvania, if you don't, you're going to feel it at the ballot box. The partisanship that has existed because of one form of energy you support and one that you work against, and the party that you reside in. We did polling. We've talked about it previously on the show, and I'm going to just repeat it. Our polling showed that residents and respondents do not care what letter is next to your name, whether it's an R or a D. They just want you to do something about the rising cost of energy. And for us, our effort is to indicate the need for siting reform in Pennsylvania so that rural electrification can continue the way it has for decades in Pennsylvania. We're at another crossroads where the need for more transmission lines and more baseload energy in Pennsylvania is what we can't have our elected officials stand in the way of, whatever your party is or whatever form of energy you have previously supported, because voters, taxpayers don't care. They just want to see action.
So, Justin, this is truly a policy over party type of argument that is being put forth here. And the phrase siting reform, we should explain, siting is not S-I-G-H-T. It's siting as in a site, a location. Take that a little bit further for me.
Absolutely, sir, and thank you for asking. When it comes to siting in Pennsylvania, we are a local rule rejection state. If something does not pass at the township level, it doesn't make it to the county for final vote, and then it doesn't happen. So we need to give some relief to the township supervisors of Pennsylvania, because they have jobs, they have lives, they have families, they have things they have to do beyond the 9 to 5, in which takes up all their time. And then they have to make a call on how to handle an energy project in their local area. that puts them in an area of constraint, especially if they are not very versed about the nuances that come along with what they're saying no to and what the implications are beyond that moment. I realize that they may be saying no because the township in which they represent, some of the people may say, we don't want this. And that can be a small number of people that seems like a numerant figure in front of them, but they haven't heard from everyone else in the township. At which point the siting discussion starts to get very messy. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, when they say no to an energy project, no matter what form of energy it is, they're saying yes to higher costs because affordability is the dominant concern when it comes to electricity.
Jim, often we have talked about the makeup of school boards and really any role in which someone plays some part in public service.
Right.
And in many cases, as Justin said, we're talking about people who have other jobs, have other professions. They're not recognized experts in a particular field. Mm-hmm. And so what they often do is they hire somebody to provide them with their expert opinions, and then they take it from there. And generally they're going to follow whatever that recommendation might be. You say that this billboard, this campaign, is all about education here. And it does require that somebody who is going to be in a decision-making role become educated and learn what it is that they are voting upon.
I would add that when the fear of having to work with the other side of the aisle, as been a former legislator myself, I served on a school board, there is a certain attitude among our legislators these days where the most important thing seems to be who's in a majority and who's in a minority. We live in a very purple state right now, and elections do have consequences. What we're trying to educate with that billboard, to your point, is that partisanship cannot continue in this conversation. Mm-hmm. We need to figure out how to compromise and figure out how to recognize the importance of holding Pennsylvania back when it comes to economic development. The rising cost of energy should not be happening in Pennsylvania. We are the number 2 exporter of natural gas in the country, which makes us one of the world leaders. It shouldn't be happening, but it's happening here. And one of the reasons is because of partisanship, and the time for blame and the time for pointing fingers needs to be put aside. And we need to figure out who among our leaders is willing to ignore the fear and acknowledge the pain that is happening. Pain can overcome fear. It takes a long time to get there sometimes. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to wait for that pain to happen, the pain is going to be felt by somebody at the ballot box.
Justin, the word reform obviously means that you look at something and you say to yourself, something's not right here. It needs to be adjusted. It needs to be even torn down completely and a system rebuilt. And there's a certain amount of or else that is built into any consequential argument. The consequences are going to be this or else. Something else is going to really be painful to folks, consumers especially. What is the hope for a campaign such as this when it comes to lawmakers, policymakers, decision makers?
The hope is that we can garner support around all of the above and below here in Pennsylvania and how that translates to energy costs, because that's the one thing that impacts everyone, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. No matter what, you have to pay an electric bill, and that bill is going up, and we're not citing energy near as fast as we need to. And to quote the great David McCormick, data centers are coming whether you like them or not. Mm-hmm. And as those data centers come, we need more energy on the grid to make it more palatable for their operations. And if we don't do something about that now, especially with solar, because it's the fastest deployable form of energy, bar none, off the shelf, we're going to see ourselves inside of a position that we're already facing inflection-wise. The capacity price goes up to $349 June 1 this year. And Governor Shapiro is staving that off with a market cap. We're in a very sore position, and we're going to continue to be in this sore position the longer we squabble about where our energy comes from. And that's enough said there.
We like to say that electrons are agnostic, and we need our legislators to be like electrons. Electrons are also nonpartisan.
Yeah.
They don't care who produces them and where they go. They're just agnostic. And so we need our legislators to think like electrons and realize that it doesn't matter who gets the pride and authorship or who gets the credit. The people of Pennsylvania are demanding something to be done.
All right, resistance.
They are.
Obviously, there's
They are.
going to be resistance to somebody who says that there's more than just one way to get your energy, and I'm sure that you encounter that anytime you talk to people from one side of the aisle or the other.
Right.
How do we break down that resistance?
So it's recognizing that when it's renewable energy, it is not the argument that it's not reliable or it's not sustainable, it's not enough. That's not the argument. The point is we need all of it. I'll remind you of the first show we did, Todd, and you made this comment. I showed something with my hands. The pie of energy in Pennsylvania is this big, and we need it to be this big. And you made the comment, for those people who aren't on Facebook and can't see, Jim used his hands to show how much bigger the pie of energy needs to be. That is still the case. And it's an all hands on deck, and we can't prevent one form of energy over another. And that's why I'm so encouraged to see my Republican brethren talking about the need for all of the above versus what used to be the message, we only want our fossil fuels in Pennsylvania.
So we enlarge the pie. We need the ingredients to fill it in. You say that there's plenty of fruit
Plenty
for
of
that
ingredients, yes. Great.
pie. There you go.
And we
Gentlemen,
need storage. I'll add that in there.
Storage
We
is
need
another
storage.
one.